once again. This is a CLNS Media Patriots Roundtable with myself, Nick Quaglia, Mike, and Marv. All right, guys. Patriots over the weekend on Sunday, 425, one of the biggest games slated of this past weekend. Patriots, Jaguars. Patriots handed their first loss of the season, now sitting at 1-1. And you can talk a lot about this game, but let's just react to it because there's plenty to react to. We talked about the receiving core, but what else did you guys see? Because me personally, I'll start with me here because I have a lot of issues with
Go ahead, Nick.
So boys, listen to this. I've heard a lot of crap against this Patriots offensive line. I'm going to blame that on the media. I didn't think the offensive line was awful. They could have been much worse for what the Jags have up on that defensive front. But I think the media just kind of kept on showing the same 3 or 4 times Brady got hit, and everybody was like, oh, no, the offensive line, they stink. Oh. But no, listen, I think the biggest part of this, and I don't even know if anybody can argue with me here, these defensive backs couldn't cover anybody. Every time, there's this thing I've noticed with the Patriots over the past few years, because it's been a problem for the past couple years, especially the first half of last year before Stephon Gilmore figured his crap out. It's as soon as a quarterback winds up and looks downfield, my heart drops in my stomach because quarterbacks look too comfortable when they're winding up to throw downfield. And every time Blake Bortles did that yesterday,
absolutely,
I knew there was a guy open downfield. There was no coverage. Everybody had a 5-yard buffer. There was nobody was suffocated. There was at least a 5-yard buffer on anybody. So even if he caught it and got hit, it was still about a 7 or 8 yard gain. So that was my problem yesterday. The defensive backs couldn't figure it out. They couldn't stay on anybody. And don't get me wrong, the Jaguars receiving core is good. They're not great, but they're pretty damn good. There's a lot of speed on there. There's a lot of physicality, and they can just flat out outrun you, and they're quick with their cuts. But there's no excuse for the way that this Patriots defensive backs played yesterday. Even with Patrick Chung being out, there's no excuse for it. Devin McCourty has to step up. It was a big problem.
It was, and I agree with you 100%. But the silver lining that I find, coming out of that game is the Patriots defense can't play any worse than they did in that game. That was pretty bad. And to go any worse than that game that you played against the Jaguars, then you're in for a rough, long season. So it was a rough game to watch. Guys were left open. They weren't getting pressure on Bortles. You could talk about it all, but at the end of the day, a loss is a loss. It sucks, but if the Patriots defense, they can only go up from here in a sense. You cannot play that bad again because that was probably some of the worst. That was probably some of the worst defensive football. It was tough to watch. It was tough to watch.
It could get worse.
It could get worse than that. Blake Bortles threw for 400 yards.
That's the crazy thing, though. And that was Blake Bortles.
Yeah, you got to point that out. Blake Bortles will never play that good again. That was the best game I think he's ever played in his life.
True, very true. 4 touchdowns.
If Blake Bortles was playing like that, what happens when you have an elite quarterback in his bag like Blake Bortles was? What was concerning about this defense was we were talking about the offensive line. Let's talk about the defensive line. Man, you lose you lose Flowers, and then they act like they don't know what's going on. Mike, a guy you like a lot, Claiborne, he was nowhere to be found.
Nowhere.
Danny Shelton,
he was there. He was just on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage that you wanted.
Right, exactly. Danny Shelton, a guy that they hyped up all training camp, had a great camp. For the past 2 games, I haven't heard his name once. And Hightower, I look back, he's looking a little sluggish now. Mike, I see what you're saying.
I'm trying to tell y'all, man.
He looked slow. He pulled up. There was one play yesterday where he pulled up big time on a play that he probably could have stopped the guy 3 yards ahead of it.
Right. So he's looking a little slow. And what made this defense look so great week 1 was the line was getting to their quarterback, right? So that buys the corners, the defensive backs, they were able to react quicker because the quarterback was rushing. This time you couldn't touch Blake Bortles, so he was having a field day and he was exposing Eric freaking Rowe.
You know what? I saw an interview with Rowe, and he admitted to it. He said, "You know what? It sucks that I was taking out the game, but I wasn't getting the job done." Those were his exact words. And obviously he knew he was getting cooked out there. So I feel like the Patriots defense, the coaching staff, they probably know And I think Belichick even said it, in the post-game press conference. They just played very bad football, especially defensively. So it'd be tough to just see a repeat performance, especially moving on to next week. I think the Patriots, especially Belichick, the coaching staff, Flores, they'll have them ready to not play a football game like that, hopefully moving forward for the rest of the season.
Why not unleash some of those rookie corners that you have? J.C. Jackson, these guys who made the team. Maybe it's time to start, implementing them into this defense, because you need to find something out. Eric Rowe, right now, he can't be your second defensive back. And
True.
The McCourty brother, both McCourtys haven't been,
Jason, man.
Yeah, Jason is her. And then Devin, our guy, he hasn't been great either. The one time Chung gets hurt, you put Jason in to start covering the tight ends, and boom, they attack him right away. And you let off the touchdown. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
All right, last question, though, with this Patriots-Jags game. We saw a lot of Sony Michel. Sony Michel made his debut, so I kind of want to get your reaction with him, guys, because to me, I don't know how much you can judge with him at this point, because it was only one game, and it wasn't like it was an easy game to open up your career with. It wasn't like the Detroit Lions of next week where the Patriots are going to play Matt Patricia. My prediction is Sony Michel is going to have a field day on Matt Patricia's defense up there in Detroit. And there was just, I don't know if you can judge it, but I wanted to see a little bit more. I thought he was going to be a little bit more shifty. It could have been the first game nerves, but it was almost like he was running directly into the defense every time and not really attempting to make those shifty moves that kind of made Sony Michel's career down in Georgia. What do you guys think about that?
I think – go ahead, Marv. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you hear that noise? That's me conducting the Sony Michel train. I'm all on board, man. I love Sony Michel. And we got to remember, this was his first game back. It probably was nerves, like you were saying. And he's facing the Jags defense, one of the best run-stopping defense there. And I thought he looked good out there. I thought he was running hard. He was showing more versatility in the running than we see in James White or Burkhead. And then the one catch that was given to him, we know that he has that pass-catching ability. So we're going to see more of him, going on against the Lions, like you said. I think he only had maybe 13 snaps he was in the game, but he was very effective for what I saw there. And they're just working him in.
Mike?
Yeah, similar to what you guys just said. I think it was definitely first game jitters going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. And I think that first pass that Brady tossed to him, that was a perfect example right there of a guy just probably being nervous. Rookie finally getting a chance to be on the football team. You're going up against an elite defense. But for the most part, when the ball was handed off to him, I feel like obviously he didn't have a big, game picking up, 100 yards or anything crazy. But with the small sample size that we saw of Sony Michel, I think it was enough for me to believe that, okay, Patriots now have a real solid combination as long as they stay healthy of a somewhat power back in Michel, Burkhead, who can kind of switch things up. And then obviously James White is catching balls out of the backfield and making plays down the field. So, again, another year where the Patriots look like they have a solid rotation of running backs to lean on.
If Burkhead stays healthy.
True.
All right. I forgot one more thing that we need to touch on before we move on to the final set of topics of the night. Fourth and inches, fourth and a foot, whatever the hell it was. Bill Belichick used to have the biggest cojones in the NFL. Didn't matter where it was. That was a turning point in the game. The Patriots decided to punt it off 4th and 1 instead of going for it and trying to get a new set of downs. And the Patriots had the Jaguars on their heels a bit at that point. I mean, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. How do you feel about that move? Was it the wrong move? Was it the right move? Are you with Bill on not making the team go for that 4th and a foot? And I believe it was like the 25, I believe, in Jaguars or Patriots territory. So it would have ended the game, but the Jaguars literally scored on the next possession quickly. So Marv, real quick, yes or no, do you agree with Bill?
I agree with the move. I think it might have been 25. I think it was like the 18. They were too far into their own camp to try to do it. They thought they had plenty of time left, and it was onto the defense. But I will say real quick, the play calling offensively, though, was horrible. So that added on to why the 4th down wasn't so great.
Mike?
I think similar to what Tony Romo said during the broadcast is that the Patriots showed Jacksonville a little too much respect there. And Bill Belichick, the coach that he is, great mind, you got to have confidence there to pick that up. You have Brady, who can usually make things happen. I think that was a scary move right there, not going for it on 4th and 1. They could have easily picked that up in multiple ways in their playbook, and they didn't. They were shook right there. I think that's what it boils down to, a little bit of being scared.
Yeah, I think you got to show. I think you actually absolutely have to show the Jaguars who's boss, because the Jaguars are bossing you around all game. They were talking a ton of smack that they ended up showing as soon as they got in the game. They were talking smack all week. So to me, that's a total game changer. That's when you take over the game. So I don't know. I'm not with Bill on that one. I think you got to go for that. I think you got to sack up and you got to go on. I think you absolutely have to go on and try to get that 4th and 1.